Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, as I exhale with a great sense of peace and contentment as we go into another program of New Paradigms for a New World and looking for those choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We're going to be talking once again, and I'm glad to have her back on the program. I really enjoy speaking with her. Cheryl Stelte, she is our guest today. We're going to be talking about chakras or chakras. Cheryl, first of all, welcome back to the program. I really do enjoy having you on the program.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's just such a joy to be here.
And I know everybody has different pronunciations for things. So I don't want to get real rigid and structured and all of that stuff because that's not what life is about. But how do you pronounce it?
Chakras.
Chakra. Okay. Well, I know that there are so many different aspects to energy in our bodies specifically. On the one hand, you have shall we call it the body vibration. We each have a vibration, but that vibration is made up of multiple vibrations when we talk about the chakras, right? And I used to think, and I kind of just set this aside, but I used to think, well, the lower vibrations or the lower base things, the material world, and the higher vibrations were spiritual and all. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense, because each one plays a role. For those who are not familiar, let's just kind of do maybe a Chakra 101. Can you tell us, from the vibrational standpoint, certainly we can talk about colors, we can talk about numbers, all of the legends associated with the seven basic chakras?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I first just would like to, if it's okay, comment on what you said about lower vibration and higher vibration. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people refer to that as we're in a low vibration if we're feeling negative or challenging emotions, which sure, we can say that. And we're in a high vibration when we're feeling love. Love is really the ultimate, love and light, joy and that sort of thing. But if we think of it from the perspective of slow vibration and fast vibration, slow vibration is very much of the earth, the material world. And it's also the love. The love vibration is much slower. Light is a very fast vibration. And we are beings of love and light. The whole universe is made of love and light. Mm-hmm. And so, like you said, there's, so many vibrations that we are experiencing and can experience at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so with respect to the chakras, they are energy centers. There is energy, thousands of energy pathways that are flowing through us all the time. We know about the Chinese meridians. I was very into the meridians for a long time. I have a diploma in acupressure, and it's just amazing how we can create change in our own energy field and how energy flows through us. We can create the change. With the chakras, they are energy centers and they run along the inside of the spine. So the spine is like an antenna. It's a conduit. And so this energy goes up and down. And there are energy channels that run up and down the spine as well. The Ida and Pingala, the Sushumna, and that's the energy flows from one chakra to another, or we hope it does. And then the chakras are actually their energy centers where they each have their own specific qualities, so to speak. It's just like the organs in our body. They have different functions. The liver doesn't do what the kidney does. Specifically, they both help, process all of our human, we eat, mm-hmm. we process, we digest, we nurture ourselves, and it goes on that way. The chakras are similar in that they have specific qualities. the root chakra. And I just want to say, I love that humanity today, from what I see, we've really gone into embracing the lower chakras. Spirituality for years, for centuries, was all about the upper chakras and having our spirit leave the body, and we could have all these euphoric experiences and that sort of thing. But the problem with that is it doesn't help us accomplish much. Doesn't help us accomplish much here,
Yeah.
the earthly plane. It used to be go live in a cave in the Himalayas, and even if they would, and I've been to India and I've spent a lot of time in the Himalayas, and the old gurus there would cut that skin underneath the tongue so they could stick their tongue up the back of their throat. Yeah, and then you
Oh,
move into these altered states, and you really don't need to eat or drink. Very little. Like there are these gurus in the Himalayas that just live off non-leaves, and you can live a very long time. So that's great. But how much are you benefiting humanity? It might be a really sort of an ongoing, very spiritual experience. And so I want to just go back to accomplishment. So the root chakra is all about that.
mm-hmm. Well,
If it,
I know this. I know this in that reference that I know a lot of people who teach about chakras and so forth, who actually work with people, whether it be in yoga and so forth. They actually there's a part of wanting to be grounded when you start this process, which doesn't mean you get tied to the material world. It's that you want to be grounded to the earth so that you don't, and I'll say it basically metaphorically speaking, because you don't want to float away. You want to stay, you want to have sort of a foundation as you work your way up the chakras, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is the foundation. And moving beyond even feeling grounded, the two of the qualities that I work with so closely with my clients are creating safety and stability. So the soul comes into human form. We all know that. We're all souls in a human body, and our soul has a mission. And if we were meant to be out of body as human beings,
Mm-hmm.
why even come here?
Yeah.
We came here to help our soul grow, evolve through being a human being. And so the number one thing that we need is a sense of safety and stability. It's like the baby comes into the world, and that baby it needs safety, it needs protection, it needs to feel stable, that all its needs are going to be met. So when we come into the world as a baby, and we may not get all those basic needs met,
Yeah.
it makes it very hard as adults to accomplish what we really want to accomplish, or even to take the risks,
Mm-hmm.
to do great things. It's
Yeah.
it's too impossible without that safety and stability.
Well, move
And
on.
so what comes
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so what comes out of that, when we start to feel grounded, we start to feel safe, we have somewhere to be. We won't fall over. And I take it even further. I'll talk about it maybe in just a moment,
Mm-hmm.
about the spike that I noticed at the back of the root chakra. But we develop that safety and stability that we may not have had earlier in life, and we create that, and then we can take risks. Then we can go on a greater path. And the root, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's the old saying, do you get plenty of sleep? No, no, there's plenty of time to sleep after I die. I want to let our listeners know that Cheryl Stelte is our guest, and her website, CherylStelte.com, CHERYLSTELTE.com. She also has a couple of books that you might want to check out. Client could be magic to hook up with a particular client and create some wonderful things. Client Magnet is the one of her books, as well as Heal Your Neck Issues and Let Your Throat Chakra Shine. I want to talk about that a little later on in the program, but as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story, we're going to talk more about the next set of chakras as we continue. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, along with Cheryl Stelte, and we're talking about the chakras. We've already talked about the root chakra, number one. Let's go ahead and move on to to the next level. If I'm correct, the next one is more in what we would refer to as the sexual center. Is that right? Or the solar plexus?
Yes, we could. Well, that's the sacral chakra is the second chakra. And I just want to throw in one more thing about the root chakra.
Mm-hmm.
It's about our responsibility. What are we responsible for? So that's what
Ah,
feeds the accomplishment. So when we develop the root chakra to a certain level, eventually we have an understanding of what our soul is responsible for on this earth today in this lifetime.
okay.
And that feeds, when we develop that feeds the energy and goes up into the sacral chakra. And so yes, the sacral chakra is very much about sexuality, passion, and passion is what also fuels, it's the best thing, the best emotion that fuels our creativity. So, from the perspective of the soul's development here on earth, and I'm very much about people accomplishing their soul's purpose. So, I primarily look at the sacral chakra with respect to creativity. And that's where sexuality plays into that because passion, whether it's sexually or passion about playing a sport or doing art, whatever it is, when we get that energy flowing, it fuels the sacral chakra, it nurtures it, and it gets that energy going. So a healthy sacral chakra will then start to come up into the solar plexus.
Mm-hmm.
And so all creative ventures are worthwhile,
Mm-hmm.
are worth doing.
I don't want to get overly graphic here, but I have also heard it said that in terms of getting that energy flowing, that there, and as you've already alluded to, there are many different ways of getting that energy flowing. But if one is blocked, so to speak, okay, and is looking for some kind of release of that blockage, that there are methods, there are ways that we can release that ourselves through, if I may, through self-pleasure. That we can work to build the energy. And it has also been said by, I'll call him a mentor of mine. He ran these programs in Phoenix, Omega Vector, Delta Vector, and his main focus was on the 0 point with Teilhard. And he said that nothing that exists here on Earth in particular, that man has created, nothing that exists was created without the sexual energy. In other words, everything that's been created by man was created through that energy. Is that a fair assessment?
I think of it more as creative energy because to me, the sexual energy, if we refer to it, it limits it.
Okay.
Creative energy to me is much more expansive.
So expanded, yes. Okay. All right.
But it is a particular flow.
Mm-hmm.
It is a particular flow. So I don't want to get caught up in the verbiage.
No.
You can say everything is created with sexual energy, but it's also everything is created through creativity, the energy of creativity.
Yeah. So the next level from there, working our way up, is that the third chakra, the solar plexus?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love this chakra. This chakra to me it's a very fiery energy. And so if you think of the root chakra, we get that safety and stability, the accomplishment, responsibility, and that comes up into creative flow. Creative flow. And our sexuality is one way to get that energy moving. And there are multiple other ways. One of the things that I do is I do chakra readings. I can see where energy is blocked and can give people ideas on how to remove the blocks. And I see where their energy is flowing really well. And so that's how I work with people and teach them to become their own energy worker. So when we get to the solar plexus, that is all about truth and power, our personal truth and our personal power. So you think of it from the perspective of the family, this is very much the chakra of individuation, where we go out into the world and we do our own thing. We become our own person. And so when there are dysfunctional links to the family that at the age of 40 or 50, we're still going by what our parents say. We're still listening to them and walking to the beat of their drum.
Oh,
We
yeah.
need to work on the solar plexus. We need to really work on the solar plexus. And so we need to lovingly bake through those sorts of challenges and opportunities. But what I love about this chakra is we can through this chakra get to the deepest truths of who we are and why we're here. And that truth is power. And that is where the expression starts to come out in a different way. You know, the expression from the sacral chakra, whether it's sexually or through creativity, if you're an artist, that sort of thing, that's a real flow. It's much more watery. There's a flow of energy that goes through that chakra, whereas the solar plexus is more about radiance and power and how we're going to really start to shine in the world. And so that's where we can develop that very strong, powerful sense of self.
Mm. And that is very important. What I have been going through for the last 4 or 5 months has been that search, not so much for purpose. I want to say pretty much, at least at this point in time, I pretty much nailed that. I think I'm right where I'm supposed to be. But there's a difference between that and knowing one's truth. Truth and purpose are kind of two different things. Now, I want to ask you this question in regards to the physiology of the human body and it's how it's reflected, say, through the chakras and maybe as you read people. If you had read me, and by the way, folks, you can get a free 20-minute chakra reading. If you go to her website, you can sign up for that. Before the 29th of July of this year, 2021, I had a gallbladder. And apparently it was very infected, and I had a gallstone the size of a golf ball. After the 30th or 31st of July, I didn't have it no more. It was gone. It was during the Olympics, and I would joke with the nurses saying, yeah, I got a gold medal during surgery. They said, what are you talking about? I said, yeah, I got a gold medal in the gallbladder clean and jerk. But I don't have it anymore. Now, I have researched, and from a metaphysical standpoint, it's like not so much the seat of anger, but that is a part of, that's where anger sometimes holds up. I don't know why, that's just what I've found.
Yes, liver and gallbladder.
Yeah, and I find myself, I used to when I would, let's say I had a glass of water here and I spilled it, all right? Arr! Would be my initial reaction, all right? After the gallbladder surgery, I spill the water. It would be that instant, and then I would chuckle.
Wow.
Yeah. So when someone has a procedure such as that, have you noticed, if you were aware of having something removed, have you noticed, for example, if I may, a woman who has a hysterectomy? That's part of the second chakra area. And that, I would think, would have a major impact on the energy flow.
I believe anything would. I can't say I am that familiar with surgeries and having things removed. I will for sure give you my ideas around this. And
Sure.
so what happens is anger, number one, it's not as much the anger that we feel in our lives that really it comes out, but it's often a projection or an expression of repressed anger in the subconscious. And along with that anger, I find more and more is when we have felt indignation. So even, especially in childhood, we weren't treated, our needs weren't being met, or we weren't treated very well. We weren't supported and loved, and where our parents were saying, I'm so proud of you, you're so smart and so amazing, and da-da-da. If we didn't get that. And so there's a part of us knows that something's wrong, and we're not getting what we need. But in the family, it may be that it's not okay to express that anger. And so that anger is suppressed. And if it doesn't get expressed in healthy ways, if we don't find it and release those emotions, that's what creates the blocks, are stuck emotions, and they're often held in the chakras. Then it will lead to the problem of expressing anger outwardly, and then it will lead to illness. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you tell me your gallbladder was removed and you don't see this same projection or expression of anger, that makes perfect sense, because where it was being held, part of where it was being held, so you still get it, because there's still probably some repressed anger in there. And none of us are perfect, that's for sure, including me.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I just want to throw out there, what does a gallbladder do? The gallbladder allows us to digest fats, which are rich. The gallbladder allows us to experience the richness of life. And so the anger prevents us, the block of the anger running through there prevents us from enjoying the richness of life. So you don't have a gallbladder now. That makes it difficult to digest fats, and you can take ox bile. I don't know, like there's supplements you can take to help you with that. And if you were my client, I would put on your list of things to do, I would have you meditate on your sacral chakra and look at how do you want to express yourself creatively, or what kind of energy do you want to flow through you? And then bring that up into the solar plexus. And how can you really enjoy the richness of life more? What would give you the most sort of substance to really sink into and just think this is the best thing on earth? And what are those ways? So to really look at that. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely does. What I find so fascinating is the research that I did in reference to the gallbladder, and of course what I was told by my surgeon, was that you don't really need it. And I'm thinking, well, then why in the world do we have it in the first place to have this kind of a problem, then have to have it removed? Because apparently the body can function, and I've been doing just fine, digesting my food since I've had the gallbladder removed. Of course, I did ask them. Of course, there's another organ in there. I think it's the appendix that they haven't figured out yet what the heck it's for, or what it would go. I find that hard to believe, that as far as we've come technologically and so forth, that we haven't figured out what's good there. And I said, could you take out the appendix while you're in there? And they said, no, we don't do twofers. So there you go. We're talking with Cheryl Stelte, and we're talking about chakras. We're going to continue on working our way up the chakra ladder, as it were, here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we're talking with our very special guest, who has written a couple of books here that you are going to want, I really do think, you're going to want to check out. One is Client Magnet, and we'll touch upon that a little bit. And a little bit later on here, as we have time, we're going to talk about how to heal your neck issues and let your throat chakra shine. Now, that's interesting, because when I was over at my parents' house for Easter one year, and my sisters were there, my eldest sister, who is part of what I'll call very structured Christian philosophy, didn't really believe in, energies emanating from this place and that and the other. And my mother was doing this scanning over us kids. And I just happened to walk into the room, and they said, lay down here. And my eldest sister began to scan my body from foot to head. And as she got over my neck, she says, it's getting really warm in my hands. Well, obviously my throat chakra's that's part of my life's purpose. But what I find interesting in terms of the title of your book here, Cheryl, is Heal Your Neck Issues. And every so often, as we all do, maybe I worked a little too hard. I threw too many logs of firewood over this way or that way or the other way. And the next day my neck is kind of stiff and I got to stretch it. And you see people doing this sometimes when you're in the store and so forth. Is that sort of an indication, and this is in a general way, that, and again, I know we've moved up a little bit here, but is that an indication maybe that they haven't, maybe for that period of time, maybe they haven't been able to find their voice. Other times, no problem. Other environments, and so forth. Is that? I mean, there seems like there's a correlation between the physiology, the physical condition of the body, and then the connection to the chakras. Just as we talked about earlier, about the sexual center and so forth, the second chakra.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the throat chakra is known primarily for expressing ourselves, speaking our truth, also being seen and heard. And I love it that your level of self-awareness is way up there, that you could look at the changes in yourself, that you're able to recognize how you changed through your gallbladder surgery. But I also, the other thing you said, you really have your purpose nailed and you get it. And a lot of your purpose is about the throat chakra. Mm-hmm. And so when I discovered a couple things that I wanted to talk about, but the throat chakra is also about expressing our purpose. And I often see in people that are really clear on purpose, they have this white ball of light behind the back of the throat chakra. It's always there. And people can still express themselves really well and still have some wounding in there, that they actually could go to a higher level of expression. They can level up. And so there's different things, and all of that comes up from the other chakras. So often what I see this spike of purpose, the spike of really what we take a stand on, that's at the back of the root chakra, and that energy goes up to the back of the throat, and it's how we express that. And so let's say, and this happens to me frequently because I do quite a few chakra readings on coaches or people who are in business, and when they're looking at moving to the next level. One of the common things I see is I'll see a wound in the front of the root chakra. They have all this other good stuff going on, and here comes up this wound that wants to be healed. And it's all about moving forward, taking on greater responsibility, accomplishing something even better and greater than they have so far. So that comes up, and they may be the best public speaker on earth. And what happens is there's often the same block up in the throat chakra. It can also be the same block in the solar plexus or in the sacral that I will often see patterns. And when I see those patterns, we always start with the root chakra. So when you say, oh, sometimes you're doing something and you get a stiff neck or that sort of thing, I will tell you, I had a pinched nerve in my neck in my 30s when I had been meditating for a while and for a few years, and I got this pinched nerve, and I was bedridden for 5 days. Ooh. Went to the chiropractor for the first time. It was just ice all the time. It was absolutely debilitating. And I wasn't able to, the chiropractic was barely helping. I had been doing some yoga. I started to do more yoga, and that helped. But it wasn't until I started really focusing on the chakras and healing myself that I was able to heal all that pain. I mean, I was stiff from that for about 1.5 years. So I have this injury. My neck goes the wrong way, and I have been pain-free for over 20 years. I don't, if I ever do get neck pain, I look at it more as a throat chakra issue. Do I do any stretches? I do a stretch that it actually takes 2 minutes. I'll sometimes do it 4, and I do that a couple times a week, and that's it. And yes, you don't have to have the pain. The pain is the body speaking to you. There's a message in the pain every single time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cheryl Stelte, my guest here on the program, CherylStelte.com. We will be linked to her website. This is her second. I know this is your first time on the program. I don't know why. I'm thinking, well, when you gave me my 20-minute chakra reading, that was our first program. Sort of, kind of, in a way.
That's right.
That's right. I am so glad that you have joined us here on the program. This is Tell Me Your Story. We are bringing you new paradigms for a new world, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And the knowledge that we're getting today as far as choices regarding our chakras is coming from our very special guest today, Cheryl Stelte. And I know we jumped. We went right over the heart. chakra. So let's go back to the heart chakra and talk about its significance. I know that a lot of people, they will spend an inordinate amount of time either on the heart chakra, which is 1, 2, 3, number 4. The throat is 5. I can't remember. I don't know if 6 is the third eye and then the 7 is the crown. But be that as it may, let's talk about the heart chakra. A lot of conversation about the heart chakra has gone on for years.
Yes, yes. I would like to begin by telling you a story. I have a client of mine who I've been working with now for some time. And when I did her chakra reading, and you've had your chakra reading, so you know what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blown away with her heart chakra. I've had 3 people that I've witnessed these amazing, radiant heart chakras. Amazing, radiant heart chakras. Is it the be-all, end-all? No. This person came to see me because she wrote a book and she knew and wanted to speak on the subject of her book. But she was terrified. She knew she had throat chakra issues. So that's what brought her to see me. So I do the chakra reading and I could see the wounding. The wounding in her root chakra was so unbearable and so stuck in her subconscious that the wounding was behind the chakra. It was complete. She was completely ignoring it. And so, but I'll go up to what I saw in her heart chakra. This amazingly wide and vibrant, it was lit up like a star. It was just gorgeous, stunning. Wow. I said, you must be meditating on your heart chakra. She said, yes, I am. I said, I've never seen one quite so wide. Like it was just absolutely radiant. So I asked her how she was meditating on her chakra. And she said she had this shaman who taught her this meditation, and she would, I can't remember if she would try and extend the heart chakra out 14 feet or 28, something like that, in the width and in the front and back. So she accomplished that, and she had been doing that for a long, long time. And then I get up to her throat chakra, and here we have the same wounding in the throat chakra, that there's all this stuff in the back that's really interfering with her. And I said, you know, and I explained to her what was going on. And so she is now in a place where that wounding, all that energy at the back no longer exists. And she's really taking on her responsibility in this life. And she's starting to accomplish a whole lot more. And she's moving into speaking. She was just on her first podcast.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
She said, there's no way she could have done that before. And she did my client magnet program because she wanted to attract clients. And then that group said to me at the end of it, we have to keep working with you. Where else are we going to get this? And so I said, okay, of course, we can continue this. And so she's now looking into teaching in a whole different way. She's looking into getting on stages and actually speaking because she's healed all of that. And is she doing that old meditation with the heart chakra? Not anymore, because she's got that vitality. It's built. And the thing with the heart chakra, it feeds the other chakras, but we still have to go to the other chakras. And fundamentally, the number one is always a root chakra. My most listened to meditation is creating safety and stability in the root chakra. If we don't have that, we're never going to truly fully accomplish our soul's purpose.
You know, one of the most amazing things that I have personally experienced, and I know you have too, and you've just shared a prime example of this, is when we start to break through those blocks. Break through. You don't go around, over, under, or the other direction. You go through. The most amazing things start to happen in your life. In your life, as you break through those. It's almost like the blockages, and I'll tell you the imaging that's coming in my mind right now. The beavers they built a dam that is blocking the river, which is my energy flow. And I have found a way to, I don't know, remove it, blow it up, whatever, go through it. so that the energy comes on through. And then all of the sudden, I mean, I'm starting to experience that with some opportunities that are starting to manifest that I've been desiring for, well, ever since we started this program. There is the very real possibility, and this, I'm not speaking out of turn here, because if I put it out there, maybe other people will sort of, okay, let's put it out there. This podcast, broadcast, videocast could become a travel television program, which is what I've wanted to do. I've shared that dream with our listeners over and over again, where I will travel around the world interviewing people at the base of the Himalayas, in this temple, in that place, in the other place, and they'll video the work that they're doing. For example, I think that the first place I want to go is Ananda Village up north of Nevada City here in California, because they've got a beautiful, beautiful spread up there. And the work that they're doing to help people to raise their consciousness is absolutely marvelous. And that's part of what you are doing, Cheryl Stelte. We're talking about the work that you do with chakras, as well as going through a sort of a Chakra 101 course here. And we're going to continue that here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we are working our way through, not necessarily in order, but that's okay, because as I've said before, the universe asks the questions, the universe guides this program. I'm just I'm just sitting in the back as the horse trots along and just watching and looking and having a good time. So we've talked about the first 5. So which is number 6, the third eye?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, now before you go any further with that, I've also seen where, I'm going to take the hat off for a moment. You have the third eye in the center, but I've also seen that there are a series of a total of, I think, 5 or 7 eyes, if you will. No, 5, because the other 2 are the physical eyes that have to do with that inner vision, that inner sight, if you will, that, part of our intuition.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to go back to the heart chakra, if that's okay.
Sure.
And say that, yes, the heart chakra is all about love and compassion and connection with others at deep levels, that emotional intimacy and everything. And so when our truth and power, our personal truth and power is radiating out in the world, that energy comes up into the heart chakra. And we can, and what I see in people who really serve humanity is a real width of the heart. When I see the chakras, I don't just look at, it's not just one thing. I see all these aspects.
Right.
There's so much to see: the front, the back, the middle, the sides. And that is one of the most common things that I see with people. And that helps us evolve. And what's important so the expression of that is so important in the throat chakra. And then you ask about the third eye. So it's our inner sight. Absolutely. And it affects the eyes for sure. And the ultimate goal is to see with the eyes of God or the universe. Whichever word you want to use, God, source, universe. I've just gone back to using God. Mm-hmm. And it's really, the work I do is I try and allow God to move through me the way God wants to move through me. That's the aspect of a soul. We're all an extension of God. We're all an extension of the universe. So how does the universe want to move through me? And as the third eye, when you start to really develop all these lower chakras, then you're going to be called on to go to the next level. And that is really the time to develop the third eye. If you develop your third eye ahead of time, really early, it's great. You're going to see all kinds of things. But then again, your true mission in life may not actually manifest for you if you don't have the lower chakras well developed. And so I spent time in India. I spent time focusing on the third eye and going back to the heart and back and forth. And when I was in India for 4.5 months, did my yoga teacher training, and we just meditated like crazy on the third eye. And I meditated more than anyone else in my class of about 40 people. And I mean, it was great and it was fun, and it's fun to go up like that. And when I got back to Canada, I'm a Canadian. I am living in the US, but I'm a Canadian. And I get back to Canada. I couldn't stay focused on my heart chakra. Could not stay there. And I ended up going to a spiritual school and really learned to focus more on the heart. And so I love that, being able to go back into my heart chakra. And I stayed away from the third eye for a long time. But then there was a time where I was so strongly guided. It's like, you need to level up. You really need to move spiritually. You need to provide more for humanity. And that's when I would start to look at the third eye more. And what I see in people overall, when I do a chakra reading, the way I see the third eye is I often see that there's light that radiates out all in front, like a semicircle, and it just shines out. And then the back, we want the back of the chakra to shine as well. And there's usually nothing going on. And so what that tells me, and when I do my chakra readings, the number one thing people say is, that was bang on. And so this is what I see most commonly with people that I read. They're attracted to me. They have great intuition, but they don't always follow it. It's often scary. And that's what prevents that third eye. If you want to really develop your third eye, sure, you can meditate on it. That'll help you. Yeah. But the more you follow your intuition, the more you follow your inner guidance, the more you're going to get. And I remember years ago, living in Victoria on Vancouver Island, and what I learned to follow my intuition when it was something I could never come up with. I would never think of that thing in my mind, and I'd go, oh my gosh, this is the universe moving through me. This is true guidance. And then I would follow that, and it was often scary and often hard, but it always paid off. Yeah. And I could see the reasoning. I could see the reasoning behind it. So I don't advise to just jump and do that. I remember doing a chakra reading on a woman who was very psychic. I got up to her third eye. I was blown away with the imaging that I received. It was really cool. It was gorgeous.
Well, one of the things that I have often said, and I say this now with much love to those listening, if you're not going to follow the promptings of your intuition, your still small voice, why are you listening? Okay? What's the point? And I was in a program, 40 years ago, literally 40 years ago, where we were doing an exercise. They gave us this big, long piece of white construction paper and a Sharpie. And they said, we want you to write down a statement. And so I started out writing it in cursive, that I would listen to, and then the next line, all block letters, and follow the promptings of my friend. That's how I refer to my still small voice, as my friend. And I've always found that, and I still have that. And it's like, what's the point? Why? And of course, we promote people participating in the Decade of Perfect Vision and going within and spending time in that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listening for that still small voice, listening for the encouragement, the inspiration, the insight, even education, if you will, similar, or the creativity as you just described. I've also said too that that the still small voice will never, ever put you in harm's way. It might challenge you, and it did me, especially on a financial issue where I'm trying to do the numbers logically and trying to say, okay, well, what am I going to do here? And in the back of my mind, my voice was saying, do this, do this, do this. And it was the same thing each time. And I'm going, no. That is totally opposite and contrary to what I'm trying to accomplish. And finally I gave in. I said, all right.
Yes.
And guess what? If I hadn't followed the prompting, things would have been a disaster, a mess, worse. I don't know that I would have, I don't know what would have happened, but all I know is I did, and it actually turned out better than I personally thought, my ego thought it would turn out. So That's where the still small voice will challenge, and sometimes the still small voice will test, and did that to me too. Where I was supposed to turn left. Nah, I'm going to go straight. Halfway down, I better go back because the prompting wouldn't go away. And I made the turn like I was asked to do. I don't know why, other than, look, Richard, you're either going to follow or you're not. Now, be serious. Are you going to follow the promptings or not? And it's still not, I'm not giving up my free will because I can still choose not to. But I can trust. And you know what they say? You know what they say when you get to the edge of a cliff, right? You jump and you trust. That's what you do. So we have one more chakra to go here on Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And we want you to stay right where you are. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we are talking with Cheryl Stelte about the work that she does with chakras. She has a couple of books. I would love to have you back to talk more about client magnet. I think that would be a wonderful thing, because when I was introduced to the whole aspect of sales, I thought, I don't want to do this. It's so disingenuous. Well, Richard, what we're doing was we're trying to establish relationships with these people. But to what end? Well, so that we can get their signature and a check on a contract. And it's like, that is so disingenuous, By the way, folks, full disclosure, I went to her website. I can't even remember how I found you. Maybe it was through LinkedIn. I just can't recall off the top of my head. I went to your website. I saw the 20-minute chakra reading, which, okay, fine. Why not? I mean, what's it going to hurt? It's free. It's, 20 minutes out of my day, no big deal. But my ulterior motive was I wanted her on the program. So it was at the end of the reading, I said, oh, by the way, the reason I actually contacted you, and here you are. And I'm so glad that you are here. The final chakra before we run out of time here is the crown. The pinnacle, if you will, so to speak, although there are those, again, and it depends upon one's own personal philosophy, who say that there's actually one that's actually above the head. But let's not go too far afield. Have you ever heard of the book Joy's Way?
No.
It has, it isn't just 7 chakras that they talk about.
Oh,
they're all
right.
over the body, all over the body. So, but we're not going to go there. That's the advanced PhD for chakras. But let's talk about the crown chakra.
Yes. There are, 3 above and 3 below, and in our hands and our feet. And yes, we could keep talking about this for hours. And I just want to throw in here that with the third eye, we actually can touch into our inner guidance in every single chakra. We can access the truth of our being through every chakra, and we can work with them directly. And your words of wisdom around following your intuition and following your guidance just rings so true. And I admire your endurance around that and your stay power with that. And so the crown chakra is really, that's the opening to the universe, to the cosmos, to God, to everything. And it really reflects, it's so cool how I see the crown chakra. And I don't work directly with the crown chakra. When I do a lot of online energy healing. In all my programs, people get either personal one-on-one or group online energy healing with the chakras. And so to me, it's the life force. It's our soul coming into the human body. It's the pinnacle of the chakras. We are always receiving there. I rarely see a blocked crown chakra. And sometimes there's been some sort of spiritual trauma that may have happened to somebody. It's usually very, very severe to have an effect in the crown chakra. And what I find often, just sitting with them, within a few minutes, I can clear that, because that wounding does not come from within ourselves. all the chakra wounding that I find has been created for us, and it's helping us, and we can change it. And so can we change the crown chakra wounding? Of course we can, but it's often a real easy one, because I don't know that the crown chakra is meant to be wounded. I don't believe that. And so it's, the universe really doesn't want you to have that block, no matter what. The other blocks serve us, they help us grow.
Yeah.
They help us grow. It's sort of the next step. I also find the crown chakra is so useful in replacing the wounded energy. So I can help a person I pull out the energy they feel into it, and I pull that energy out and bring that energy into my own heart chakra while I'm in an altered state, the heart chakra and the solar plexus. So I'm in my spiritual power, and I give it back to them cleared. So I'm not taking any energy. I'm not giving them. It's just taking theirs. It's like a serious scrubbing and washing energetically. But what I like to do, especially through even reparenting the child or just replacing that energy with the purity of love and light that we really are. Mm-hmm. That pure consciousness is to directly take that energy from the crown and replace that energy of the wound, so that they're much, much freer in their lives and not so bogged down. And so part of my goal is to help people become more and more clear energetically, that they just become the love and light that they truly are.
Now, when you gave me my reading, there were several chakras where because you talked about this earlier in the program, there were several of my chakras that had that light behind the chakra, which
That's right.
was, I think you said, was a little bit on the unusual side. You don't see that in a lot of people.
That's right. And so you said you're connected to your purpose. That's really obvious. And so I see that in the chakras. And so I see it in the throat chakra as a white ball behind the chakra. But what I often see is people may be aware of their purpose, but sometimes there's like a black plate in between that in the throat chakra and the rest of the chakra, so they're not expressing it fully. Where you didn't have that, there's a pretty clear channel there. What I also saw in you that's so cool, and I'm seeing it more and more in people, I see in the back of the root chakra is like this energetic spike, and I often see it comes down sort of like a cone. Mm-hmm. People that are so aligned with their soul's mission, I see it as white light in there. It's white. And that tells me they know what they stand for. There's certain things that some people just stand for, like they want to reverse climate change, or they want to help heal anyone who suffered from human trafficking, or whatever. They know what they stand for. They know what they really value, and they know what they're all about, and they know why they're here. And what that spike does energetically, it gives one something to lean back on. So it's at the back of the root chakra, so it doesn't matter what goes on in life. They have something to lean back on. And I've even seen with some people, they go through changes in their lives, and I sometimes see where this spike turns gray and a new one is formed. Parts of it break away, or maybe even the tip, some old beliefs, some old foundational beliefs around what they stood for. They change their mind. No, I've had all these experiences and I don't stand for that anymore. Now this is what I stand for. And it energetically affects this spike. I've never read about this spike anywhere, and I've never read about the back of the throat chakra. And to me, so much of our learning and growth is through experience, just like you've shared a number of your personal stories very vulnerably. And so that's what I encourage people in the work is I give them the skills to become their own energy worker. I give you the skills to become your own energy worker. And then you can learn through your own experiences. And then my ultimate hope is then that you teach others.
And that is really the big key right there. It's not enough to go to Cheryl and get a chakra reading and then just walk away and say, oh, that was interesting. And yeah, okay, I'll try to incorporate some of those things and this and that and the other thing. We are here to work together and play together and live together. And sometimes, unfortunately, we die together. But one of the interesting things I wanted to ask you about was, do you see people's chakras just as the observer, just in your day-to-day life? Or can you sort of kind of turn it on and turn it off? Or is it necessary for you to focus your attention as opposed to it just kind of like always being there and you're seeing these images or are aware of these images of the chakras and so forth?
That's such a great question, Richard. Nobody has asked me that publicly before. So I thank you for asking me that. And I know we're coming to a close, so I will try and answer briefly. I do not just see the chakras all the time. Absolutely not. I have not received a gift per se of sight. I have actually, it's through my own spiritual practice and learning to see myself and then learning to see others that I've developed this over time. Can I see chakras very quickly? Absolutely. It takes me a second, to tune in. The reason I do chakra readings is because it's really about empowerment. To me, it's, I'm all about healing and empowerment. And so I love telling people where their strengths are and then what their blocks might be or where the energy is not flowing as well, and some tips on what they can do to get that energy flowing. But it's so wonderful for people to hear what their strengths are, where their power lies, and what's gone really well for them. So yeah, I can talk to someone on the phone and say, do you want me to tune in? But it's a conscious thing.
We're talking with Cheryl Stelte here on Tell Me Your Story. New Paradigms for a New World is what we give you, and also what we give you at the end of each program is 3 questions. Cheryl Stelte, who is my guest here on the program, CherylStelte.com is the website. We will be linked to your website as well so people can get into the chakras, get that free 20-minute reading from you, and maybe take it to the next level. Find out more about Client Magnet, the program. You mentioned that it was a program. We'll have to talk about that another time. But before we let you go, first of all, thank you so much for giving us so much time, and we will make this quick and painless in this portion of our game show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you ever so much, Richard. I love what you're doing in the world and what you bring to so many. I hope you keep going, and I would love to see your dreams come true, that you're traveling to different communities and experiencing people in all their greatness.
We may be coming to your town someday soon. All right. So with the final 3 questions that I ask all of my guests, you may have answered them to some degree during the program, but I like to ask them pointedly. Number 1, who is Cheryl Stelte?
Cheryl Stelte is a spiritual leader.
What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you're doing now?
My biggest goal is to create a foundation, teaching others to heal and recognize their gifts so they can develop their own healing modalities and teach others. And the foundation will be set up for people to take healing to developing countries and teach that there. And really, through all the work I do directly with clients, it's all about healing and empowerment. How can I help to empower others to really step into their greatness?
And finally, what is your life's purpose?
My life's purpose is to be a spiritual leader, teacher, healer. I was guided years ago after I did a week-long retreat for myself, and I had been told by people that could see that I was a teacher, spiritual teacher and healer, and it was the hardest thing for me to accept. I actually became chronically ill. It was just too much for me to handle, and so I was able to eventually get over that and step into that. And so that is my mission. That is my purpose, is to help others really step into who they are and why they're here in the greatest ways.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining us here on the program. And we are going to have you back to talk about the program of Client Magnet, the Client Magnet program. So we will have you back again. And I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. Again, we're on podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio. We're on YouTube, where you can watch these interviews and you can hear these programs on this station at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Sundays, Monday mornings at 1 a.m., and Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal.